Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Balabha Girivara Dadi Gopijana Balabha Girivara Dadi Jatsodhanandana Brajajanarandana Jatsodhanandana Brajajanarandana Jamana Tiravana Chadi Jamana Tiravana Chadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Balabha Girivara Dhari Gopijana Balabha Girivara Dhari Jasodanandana Brajajanarandana Jasodanandana Brajajanarandana Yamuna Tiravana Chadi Jamuna Tiravana Chadi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajagacharya Astatarasatasi Srimad His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Shira Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Gora Premanandi Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Well, we're almost back to where we left off. I say almost because I'd like to begin with some research questions on Saturday evening class. Saturday evening was Mahabharata, and there were 3 topics that, after some research, I now have some description of. So one of those topics was on the gratitude in Mahabharata. One of the expressions of gratitude was Karna speaking to Grandfather Bhishma, expressing to Grandfather Bhishma several things, but his apology for speaking harshly to Grandfather Bhishma, his request for Grandfather Bhishma to go ahead and fight, and Grandfather Bhishma excusing him for all of his harsh statements or abrupt statements or offensive statements. So there was some question, what was all that about? And here's the answer. When did Karna make his impulsive vow about not participating in the battle until Bhishma was killed? The answer is it's found in the Udyoga Parva of Mahabharata. And the event is after the 13 years of incognito, 12 years of exile, 13th year of incognito. At the very end, that's when Arjuna and the Pandavas who were staying at the palace of Emperor Virat, they defeated the entire Kaurava soldiers, not the entire army, but at least the chief soldiers. And then it became known, oh, this is where they were hiding out, is Virat's palace, and so forth. So after that, the 2 groups began seeking allies for war. Duryodhana had chosen Krishna's army. Arjuna chose Krishna, and all those events happened. Then there's a description of Duryodhana having a conversation with Dhritarashtra in the presence of Grandfather Bhishma and some of the Kauravas. So Duryodhana said to his father that he's more powerful than even the demigods, so easily he'll defeat the Pandavas. And then Karna said to Duryodhana, O king, there is no need for you to feel that you must rely upon your own prowess, for I alone can vanquish all of the Pandavas. Bhishma then angrily interrupted Karna by saying, "Oh, Suta's son." Suta means his caste position of being the son of a chariot driver. You may be boasting, for anyone can talk like a hero. I assure you, however, that with the help of Lord Krishna, Arjuna will not only cut down your excessive pride, but your very life as well. Karna replied, "O grandsire, I admit the superiority of Lord Krishna, but since he has vowed not to take up weapons, there is nothing he can do to harm us. Oh, Bhishma, because you have addressed me so harshly, I hereby vow not to fight in the upcoming war until after I have witnessed your death." So that was in the Udyoga Parva. Later in the same Udyoga Parva, both Krishna and Kunti tried to persuade Karna to switch sides. He rejected their proposal. And while preparing for war, there's another exchange between Bhishma and Karna. Bhishma said, because he's being asked to be the commander-in-chief of Duryodhana's army, Bhishma said, "O king," meaning Duryodhana, "I shall accept your proposal, but at the same time, I must warn you that since the Pandavas are very dear to me, I will never disregard their welfare. In this world, I can see only one warrior who is equal to me, and that is Arjuna. However, I know that out of respect, he will never fight with me very fiercely. Similarly, even though I am capable of easily vanquishing all of the demigods, demons, human beings, and Rakshasas combined, I shall never kill the Pandavas. My dear Duryodhana, I hereby vow to slay at least 10,000 warriors each day. But I must insist upon one condition before accepting the post of commander-in-chief. Either Karna or myself will fight first, but not both of us together, for he has always insulted me while vainly boasting of his own prowess." At this, Karna assented by saying, "O king, Duryodhana, I agree to fight only after Bhishma has been killed, for that was the vow which I already made earlier." So he's released from that vow and released from the harsh thing that they said to one another and so forth. There was another question. So there's three questions. The second question was, when did the Pandavas learn that Karna was their brother? It's later. It's after the war is over. And in the last section of what's called Stri Parva, it describes the cremations and funeral rites of all the warriors that Yudhishthira arranged. Here's the passage. Night had already fallen when all the cremations were completed, and at that time Maharaj Yudhishthira organized a procession to the bank of the Ganga, placing Dhritarashtra at the front. There the Kaurava ladies offered oblations of Ganga water to the departed souls of their relatives. At this time, Kunti Devi, overwhelmed by unbearable grief, all of a sudden announced, "My dear sons, your great enemy Karna was actually your elder brother, for he had been conceived by me prior to my marriage with Pandu. Therefore, all of you should now go and offer Ganga water to him for his eternal well-being." When the Pandavas heard this, they became practically stunned due to great shock. In a voice that was laden with intense grief, Maharaj Yudhishthira then requested, "My dear mother, please explain to us how it came to be that you had given birth to Karna before your marriage, and how he came to be known as the son of a Sutta." After hearing the entire story from Kunti Devi, Maharaj Yudhishthira called for all of Karna's surviving relatives. The Pandavas then went with them and entered the river in order to offer the sacred water for the benefit of Karna's departed soul. Immediately following this is the Shanti Parva, which starts with Narada Muni narrating to Yudhishthira the history of Karna's curse by Parshuram. That curse was Parshuram was tricked by Karna into believing, or being misled to believe, that he was a Brahmin, and so he gave him weapons, including Brahmastra. But when he discovered that he wasn't a Brahmin, he uttered a curse that when it came time to utilize the Brahmastra, he would forget the mantra. So he couldn't use it. After hearing that narration, the Mahabharata says the following. Narada Muni speaking, Karna's history. Hearing about Karna only caused Maharaj Yudhishthira's grief to become magnified. Although herself very aggrieved, Kunti then urged, "My dear son, please do not lament for Karna's death. Both myself and Surya tried our best to persuade him to join with his real brothers, but we had failed. Since Karna had remained determined to continue his hostility toward you, even after being informed of his real identity, his death should not be lamented over." Actually, the grief-stricken Maharaj Yudhishthira had become quite angry at his mother because her secrecy had caused him to become the unknown slayer of his older brother. Now, in order to give vent to his pent-up rage, Maharaj Yudhishthira uttered the following curse. You ready? "From this time onward, may no woman ever again be able to keep her secret to herself." And the third question, there's several people that helped with this one. Remember when Karna was told by the sun god, disguised as a Brahmin, that Indra would come and request his armor and golden earrings, don't give. And he said, "I have to give because I've taken a vow to give to Brahmins whatever they ask, give in charity." So then he was told, well, at least this, ask for his Shakti weapon in exchange. So he got the Shakti weapon. The question was what happened with that Shakti weapon once it was given, because it was invincible. With, some exception, Krishna's tricks make it not invincible. And the answer is that Karna used it against Gatotkacha. Gatotkacha, we heard about. Well, Hidimbi and Bhima had a son. Gatotkacha was the son. So he was a Rakshasa by the quality of his mother, Hidimbi. And although he looked strange, he was always very affectionate and obedient and subservient and a really good companion for the Pandavas. So when the Kurukshetra battle began, Gatotkacha was on their side. And so this is a description. It's a little long, but it's Krishna Dharma's writing is nice, so it's nice to read. Gatotkacha turned away from Duryodhana and resumed his attack on Karna, who was hemmed in by Pandava warriors striving to hold him in check. The Rakshasa sent a stream of shafts at Karna, and the fight between them carried on in earnest. Like two tigers tearing each other with their claws, they mangled each other with their lances, arrows, and darts. I don't know what the difference between an arrow and a dart is. Anybody know? I always thought when they said darts, it means arrows. Their blazing shafts lit up the battlefield. No one could look at them as they released their weapons, covered with wounds and steeped in their own blood. They resembled two hills of red chalk with rivulets flowing down their sides. Even though both were endeavoring to their utmost, they could not make the other flinch. The twang of their bows filled the four quarters like continuous rumbling of thunder. Paragraph. Realizing that he could not overpower his foe with arrows, Gatotkacha invoked the Rakshasa weapon. Karna was immediately encircled by a force of demons armed with large rocks, lances, trees, and clubs. Other Rakshasas appeared in the sky and rained down an incessant shower of javelins, battle axes, and iron wheels on Karna and the Kaurav army. Everyone fled in alarm. Only Karna, proud of his strength, did not flee. With tens of thousands of arrows, he checked the Rakshasa illusions and countered their weapons. Gatotkacha rushed at Karna with his mace whirling above his head. Karna cut the mace apart with 12 arrows and pierced his chest with 20 more. Stopped in his tracks, Gatotkacha hurled at Karna a razor-edged discus adorned with jewels and shining brilliantly. Karna again cut the weapon to pieces almost as soon as it left the Rakshasa's hand. Seeing his discus fall in fragments, Gatotkacha blazed up in anger and covered Karna with arrows as Rahu covers the sun. Karna countered his attack and sent a similar number of shafts at his foe. That's arrows, shafts, and darts. Probably the same thing. Gatotkacha rose into the sky and soared above Karna's head. He dropped rocks and trees on him by the hundreds. But Karna smashed them to pieces with his arrows. Invoking a celestial weapon, Karna pierced Gatotkacha all over his body with so many arrows that he appeared like a porcupine with erect quills. Gatotkacha used his own illusory powers to counter Karna's weapon, then disappeared from view. Suddenly, showers of arrows began to appear from all parts of the sky and from every quarter. Little boys like these stories like anything. What's your favorite battle? They fell upon the Kauravas and Karna. From all sides, Karna invoked other divine weapons, but Gatotkacha appeared in a form with many huge heads and swallowed them. He ranged above the heavens and on the ground, seeming to be in many places at once. At one moment he was seen in a vast form, and the next he was as small as a thumb. He entered the earth and went high in the sky, appearing at a great distance. He suddenly reappeared right next to Karna. Rakshasa tricks. Gatotkacha created a mountain on the battlefield, which issued forth a shower of weapons. Karna, unruffled, broke the mountain to pieces by means of a celestial missile. The Rakshasa then created a dense blue cloud above Karna that dropped thick showers of boulders. Karna blew the cloud away with the Vayavya weapon. Probably has something to do with wind. Vayavya weapon. With limitless arrows, he continuously destroyed the Rakshasas' illusions. Thousands of demons then attacked Karna. With every kind of deadly weapon, Karna checked all his attackers with swift shafts, shot with such speed that they could not be seen until they struck their target. The afflicted Rakshasa forces appeared like a host of wild elephants assailed by an angry lion. Karna destroyed them like the god of fire, burning down all creatures at the end of creation. Only Gatotkacha could stand before the enraged Karna as he released his weapons. Paragraph. Bhima's son, Ghatotkacha, then created a chariot created by his own powers of illusion. The chariot resembled a hill and was yoked to 100 goblin-headed asses as big as elephants. They drew Ghatotkacha close to Karna, and the Rakshasa hurled a celestial lance at him that blazed through the sky like a lightning bolt. Amazing all onlookers. Karna caught the lance and threw it back at Ghatotkacha. The surprised Rakshasa leaped clear, and the lance hit his chariot, smashing it into 1,000 flaming pieces and killing its horses and charioteer. As his chariot exploded, Ghatotkacha rose again into the sky. Karna directed numerous celestial weapons at him, but he avoided them all by his agility and illusory powers. Not over yet. He multiplied himself into 100 forms so that Karna could not distinguish which of them was actually his enemy. He then made ferocious animals appear from all directions: lions, tigers, hyenas, fire-tongued snakes, and iron-beaked vultures issued forth and ran screaming or roaring at Karna and the other Kauravas. Packs of wolves and leopards with gruesome features rushed across the field, along with numerous ghosts, pishachas, jinn, Jinn, ghosts. What is it?
I think they have genes. It's kind of like a spirit that's not inherently benevolent or it's
A subtle being of some kind. And men with beasts' heads. Karna remained steadfast on his chariot and struck all the creatures with straight flying arrows, uttering incantations sacred to the sun god. He burned up his assailants by the tens of thousands. Struck by Karna's mantra-charged arrows, their bodies fell to the earth in charred and mutilated pieces. Phew. Ghatotkacha vanished from sight and boomed out at Karna from across the sky. Your end is near. Wretch, wait till I slay you. Karna was unable to see his opponent and covered the sky with arrows. Suddenly, a great red cloud appeared in the heavens, casting red glow over the battlefield. It emitted flashes of lightning and tongues of fire. The cloud roared as if thousands of drums were being beaten simultaneously. From it fell countless gold-winged shafts, spears, heavy clubs, spiked bludgeons, razor-edged discuses, and numerous other weapons. They dropped on the surviving Kauravas, who wailed in distress. From out of the cloud flew thousands of Rakshasas, clutching spears and battle axes. They ranged about the sky like flying mountains. Sound like Star Wars. With blazing faces and sharp teeth, the monstrous demons struck terror into the Kauravas' hearts. Descending onto the battlefield, they slaughtered Duryodhana's forces without mercy. A confused din arose in the gloom of the night battle as thousands of brave warriors lost their lives. Unable to stand against their attackers, the Kauravas fled. As they ran, they cried, "Run! All is lost! The gods with Indra at their head have come to destroy us." Paragraph. Karna alone, covered by arrows, remained fearless. He fought back against the Rakshasas, warding off their attack and sending his blazing steel shafts into the sky in all directions. Closing on his intrepid foe, Ghototkacha hurled 4 irresistible lances that slew Karna's horses. Karna saw him swiftly approaching, his scimitar held high. Kind of like a curved sword, right? Scimitar. All around him, he heard the Kauravas' wails and cries, "Oh, Karna, use Indra's weapon to slay this colossus. Otherwise, he will kill us all with his mighty illusions." Here it is. Karna reflected. There was no alternative. The Rakshasa was consuming all his celestial weapons. Nothing could stop him except the infallible Shakti. Seeing that Ghototkacha would also slay him, he forgot about Arjuna and snatched the Shakti weapon from its gold case. Placing it on his bow, he aimed it at the Rakshasa while uttering the mantras. The battlefield around him became brilliantly illuminated, as if the sun had risen. Remember, it's dark at night. Fearful winds blew and thunder resounded in the heavens. Karna released the weapon and it flew like a fireball at Ghototkacha. The Rakshasa saw his end approaching and suddenly expanded his body to an immense size. Towering above the battlefield, he was struck full on the chest by the Shakti weapon. It passed clean through his body and flew up into the sky, disappearing into the heavens to return to Indra. Paragraph. Slain instantly, Ghototkacha fell down toward the Kauravas. His huge frame crushed a complete division of warriors as he hit the ground. As he died, his frightful illusions vanished. Seeing his opponent killed, Karna roared with joy. Duryodhana and his brothers shouted with him, and the Kauravas beat drums and blew conches. They surrounded Karna and praised him with cheerful voices. Whoever's left. And that's not it. There's one more. After Ghototkacha's death, there was a discussion between Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya about Ghototkacha's death and the use of Indra's Shakti weapon to bring that about, and Krishna's role. Dhritarashtra inquired, "O Sanjaya, since Karna possessed Indra's invincible dart, why did he never use it to kill Arjuna? For this would surely have caused the defeat of the Pandavas. I think that this must have somehow been the arrangement of the supremely intelligent Lord Krishna. Kindly enlighten me on this matter if you are able to." "Sure." Sanjaya replied, "O king, what you are thinking is quite correct. Lord Krishna had ordered Ghototkacha to fight with Karna just so that Karna would be forced to waste Indra's infallible dart." Dhritarashtra then asked, "O Sanjaya, did not Duryodhana's advisors urge Karna to challenge Arjuna from the very beginning and then use the infallible dart to slay him?" Sanjaya replied, "My dear king, every night when the Kaurava leaders would assemble together in order to discuss their strategy, one of the major decisions was always made, which was always made, was that Karna should challenge Arjuna the next day and then slay him with Indra's infallible dart. Some even dared to suggest that the dart could be used against Lord Krishna, considering him to be the actual root of the Pandava tree. Actually, it is a fact. Lord Krishna is like the root of a great tree, and Arjuna is the main trunk. The other 4 Pandavas are the branches, and the various Panchala warriors are the leaves. Every morning, the Kaurava leaders would wake up, having made the firm resolution that either Lord Krishna or Arjuna should be killed with Karna's dart. However, at the time of battle, they would always forget this resolution due to the influence of Lord Krishna's illusory potency. My dear Dhritarashtra, Satyaki had asked the same question to Lord Krishna himself. Satyaki, one of the warriors on the Pandava side. Question: since Karna had reportedly made up his mind to kill Arjuna with the infallible dart which he had obtained from Indra, why did he never actually hurl it at Kunti's son? Lord Krishna replied, my dear Satyaki, again and again Duryodhana, Dushasana, and Shakuni discussed this matter, and each time they urged Karna to quickly deploy that dart against Arjuna. Indeed, Karna would always agree to do so, because the hope of killing Arjuna is forever prominent in his heart. However, by dint of my Yogamaya potency, I repeatedly made Karna forget to use this invincible weapon. Oh, Satyaki, for as long as Karna had possessed the means for killing Arjuna, I could never sleep properly at night. And he's the supreme controller, so it's like, what? Nor could I enjoy anything peacefully. I do not even consider the lives of my mother, my father, my brother, even my own life to be as worthy of protection as that of Arjuna. Indeed, I could not even think of enjoying the kingdom of the 3 worlds without the association of Arjuna. Therefore, I was overjoyed when Ghatotkacha was slain by Indra's infallible dart, for it was for Arjuna's sake alone that I had sent the Rakshasa against Karna. Now, reading this earlier, I was thinking, poor Ghatotkacha. Like he just doesn't rate compared to Arjuna. But so how does that work? Because Krishna is kind to everybody, and Ghatotkacha is the servant of the servant. And why sacrifice Ghatotkacha? Could have been done some other way. Go get that dart by some other means. So who can understand Krishna's plan? We certainly know the destination of Ghatotkacha. What to speak of all the soldiers on the battlefield, achieves the kingdom of God. So for a hero, that's wonderful. From mundane sensibility, it's awful. Okay, so that was Saturday Night Wrap-Up. And now we're going to continue with Canto 10, Chapter 14, Text 18. And before I read the verse and purport, this is a reminder that this little section of verses in Chapter 14 is dealing with Brahma explaining the relationship between Krishna and Krishna's Maya, his spiritual potency and his illusory potency, but Krishna's Maya, Krishna's Shakti. Because before it was the 3 Vishnus, and now it's Krishna's potency, spiritual and material. Here we go. Brahma said, Have you not shown me today that both you yourself and everything within this creation are manifestations of your inconceivable potency? First, you appeared alone, and then you manifested yourself as all the Vrindavan calves and cowherd boys, your friends. Next, you appeared as an equal number of four-headed Vishnu forms who were worshipped by all living beings, including me. And after that, you appeared as an equal number of complete universes. Finally, you have now returned to your unlimited form as the absolute, supreme absolute truth, one without a second. Amita, unlimited form. BBT purport is short. As stated in the Vedic literature, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, meaning everything that exists is an expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, everything is ultimately part and parcel of the Lord's spiritual existence. By Lord Krishna's causeless mercy, Lord Brahma personally experienced that all existence, being the potency of God, is non-different from him. So that's the non-difference emphasis, along with the difference emphasis. Here's Vishwanath's commentary, and it's you have to listen carefully. The universe you displayed within your belly, that's Mother Jasoda, and the universe displayed outside that you showed to your mother, and all the unlimited universes passing in and out of the pores of your Karnadakshayi form, are all produced from your material energy and are therefore designated as Mayaka. This I have already understood. Paragraph. But today I have realized the existence of thousands upon thousands of spiritual universes formed through your inconceivable, powerful Sarup Shakti. Then he's going to explain what spiritual universe is, what he means by that. What object exists independent of you in the thousands of universes that you have shown to me today? Nothing. For everything is emanating from you. You have shown to me not the material nature of the thousands of universes, but their spiritual basis. How? First, you were alone. Then, by your own Swarup Shakti, you expanded as all the cowherd boys and calves of Vraja. Then, by Yogamaya, you covered all the cowherd boys and calves and revealed the countless four-handed forms composed of your Swarup Shakti. What types of forms were these? These forms were worshipped by all conscious entities, from the blades of grass to all the Brahmas. Then you became all the universes of all the countless Brahmas. Then Yogamaya, by your desire, covered all this and revealed the one form, Advayam, of the pure, perfect Brahman, with immeasurable, incomparable beauty. For my benefit, you remain uncovered before my eyes through the potency of Yogamaya. And that's it for this evening. Let's go back over what Vishwanath just said. This is chapter 14. And we know from chapter 13 that the cowherd boys and calves were all Krishna. And the potencies, the four-armed forms, that's also Krishna's expansions. And the potencies were their spiritual counterparts of the worldly potencies. They weren't the material potencies. They're the spiritual counterpart of those material potencies. And so by inference, what Vishwanath is saying is the universes, plural, that were shown were also spiritual, or the spiritual counterpart. And that's kind of, if you mind bending or mind blowing or mind expanding, because it's one thing for us as devotees to understand, at least conceptually, that whatever is here has its spiritual counterpart in the spiritual world, and then that spiritual counterpart in the spiritual world is personified. Yes? Everything that exists here is the reflection of something that's personified in the spiritual realm. So including, let's say, earth, water, fire, air, ether. There's their spiritual counterparts that are not just energies, but they're persons. Like going back to Canto 2, Chapter 9, what Brahma saw was Lord Vishnu and all of his potencies, and it identifies them by number, and in the purport, Prabhupada identifies, expands the number into what are those potencies, the 6 and the 9 and the 16 and this and that. He lists them out. But they're personified. And they're offering praises. Like probably a big concert of offering praise to the personality of Godhead. Here, we're hearing even the blades of grass. Isn't that far out? The blades of grass personified. We're offering praises to the personality of Godhead. This is chapter 14. In chapter 35, I've grown to really like that chapter. That's the song of the gopis. When Krishna, because the section before 35 is the rasa dance section. And after enjoying with Krishna for as long as they enjoyed with Krishna performing rasa dance, the very next day, off he goes with the cowherd boys, taking care of the cows, or the cows by that age. And the whole chapter, there's one verse at the beginning and one verse at the end, and the others are all in couplets. And it's the flute song, and describing the effects of Krishna going into the forest to call the cows with his flute, and who hears that sound and how all the different entities are affected. And it describes there that even inanimate objects, because they're also conscious, but they're apparently inanimate, they're moved to ecstasy. The rocks melt, and the trees dance, and the waves reach their arms, and inanimate objects are whipped into a frenzy of ecstasy at the sound of Krishna's flute. There's a nice verse in Bilvamangala Thakur's writing. I don't know the Sanskrit. I just heard someone describing the verse, that in the Puranas, there's descriptions of many avatar forms of the Lord. But as far as I am concerned, Bilvamangala, as far as I'm concerned, I'm simply interested in Krishna, because it is only in the Krishna form that he, by stepping on the earth and with his fingertips touching the creepers of Vrindavan, moved them into ecstatic love. Meaning saying that there's no such descriptions of the other forms of the Lord. Krishna's, the feature of rasa in relation to Krishna is most profound. It's not to say that there isn't with the others, but the feature of rasa in Krishna's rupa, what is it? Rupa Madhuri. His form is so ecstatic. It's so profound. So now back to this Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur purport. All of these things that were shown, Vishwanath would want us to understand, or his understanding is, everything that was shown to Brahma was not the material manifestation of anything. It was the spiritual manifestation of everything. The spiritual foundation and background of everything, including the universes. So Brahma is the engineer. We can say creator, but the engineer of the universe that's dealing with the material energies, Mayic universe, taking the material energy and assembling it in various ways to make a universe. And what Krishna showed was different than that. Now he's the source of both. So the stepping back, 3 giant steps. The topic is, what's the relation between Krishna and Krishna's energies, spiritual and material? And the material energies, there's a relationship of oneness and difference. And the spiritual energy, there's oneness. Although the energy is not the energetic, so you can say difference also. But there's 2 different realms, the spiritual realm, material realm. He's giving, so it's one further step back. He's giving truths about Krishna, Krishna Tattva. He's giving to us truths about Krishna. And the relationship with Krishna is important, to act in our relationship with Krishna, because our relationship with Krishna is not just me and Krishna, everything else, can take a hike. It's just me and Krishna. There's Krishna's external, Krishna's internal energies, and they're working under his direction. And Krishna can reveal whatever he wants to reveal to us in our relationship with him. Here's what he's revealing to Brahma, the head of our sampradaya. The difference and non-difference of all Shakti, or all Yogamaya, Mahamaya, in relation to Krishna. He's the controller. He's the rest. He's the basis. He's the support. And now, in conclusion, for my benefit, you remain uncovered before my eyes through the potency of Yogamaya. And that circles back to the very first verse, or first prayer. You showed me your mercy. You gave me, you fulfilled the answer to my curiosity question. You showed me that your opulences are unlimited. And most importantly, you showed me this form of yours. Because to see the form of Krishna, it requires Krishna's mercy. Even to see but not understand requires mercy of Krishna, just to see his form, but to see and understand. So Brahma's given that very, very, very special mercy that he's expressing. How merciful. In what way have you shown me mercy? Nice. Okay, so that's our Mahabharata and Srimad Bhagavatam class for this evening. Any discussion? Nothing here. Anything online?
Shiradaka Mataji writes, Lord Brahma is very lengthy, mostly monologue. Lord Brahma's very lengthy, mostly monologue eulogy is quite dissonant with the mood of the rest of Vrindavan. Drawing a parallel from this to the service community we find ourselves...
To the which community?
To the service community.
Service community?
We find it...
What's the service community? Do you understand what she means?
The community of devotees that we serve in is one guess. Oh, here, she continued. There might be a prominent mood of service, and yet some anomalous souls might bring a diversity through their mood of service. It's restricted characters, so I'm not getting the whole question. And conditioned nature is to look for homogeneity or resonance. Maybe we can ask this on the WhatsApp.
You can read it easier on your phone than on the computer.
Well, the question is not coming in its entirety. She's entering it in chunks because...
Okay.
you could characters. Are you okay if I repeat it from the beginning?
Yeah, it's a little meandering. I can't really follow the train of thought.
Okay. Lord Brahma's very lengthy, mostly monologue eulogy is quite dissonant with the mood of the rest of Vrindavan.
Yes.
Drawing a parallel from this to the service community we find ourselves in, there might be a prominent mood of service, and yet some anomalous souls might bring a diversity through their mood of service. Conditioned nature is to look for homogeneity or resonance, but then we miss out on taking advantage of this diversity.
She's going to speak the message?
Yes, Maharaj. Mataji, you can speak the...
I said something nice. So, I guess I can start from the very beginning of my question. Brahma is offering a very lengthy, and it's mostly a monologue, his eulogy of Krishna. And it seems that this mood of, him offering his intelligence and his knowledge and his logic and reasoning is very dissonant with the mood of the rest of Vrindavan. And so I'm drawing a parallel from this to the community that we find ourselves in to serve, where there might be a primary or a prominent mode of service, but some souls bring a diversity in a mode of service. And I find my own conditioned nature is to look for homogeneity or resonance, but then we miss out on taking advantage of diversity. So it seems it takes some push to overcome this inertia and leave this comfort zone and really go into the world of, truly enter into that spirit of appreciating these different modes of service. Would you please help me move out of this inertia that I experience sometimes.
Well, you may have answered your own question by the way that you began the question. And, one answer can be read Srimad Bhagavatam. Because there you will find diversity. And, I can say that's been my experience from the past 3-4 months of going through 10th canto, Leelas of Krishna in Vrindavan. And amongst the residents of Vrindavan, there's diversity. Amongst the groups of cowherd boys and gopis and elders, there's diversity. And then what to speak of, in comes Narada Muni, in comes Uddhava, in comes Brahma, in comes Indra, in comes Akrura, and they don't have the same mood as the Brijbasis, but they have enormous affection and appreciation for Krishna and the mood and love of the Brijbasis. So, if by immersion, I'm suggesting, by immersion in the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam, you'll feel that, and you'll feel maybe, I'm more attracted to this and less attracted to that. That's fine. A liking for some particular mood of devotion is fine. And there's so much diversity out there in Vrindavan, and that's where we're headed. So read Srimad Bhagavatam a lot. And, it's elevating and purifying at the same time. The lower nature is being cleansed and the upper nature is being elevated just by Srimad Bhagavatam. And the diversity appreciation is there. And Krishna stays at the center. And then you may not find that a very satisfying answer, but I like it. Hare Krishna.
This question is from Narayan.
Do we need to turn the volume up a little bit, Namruchi? Go ahead.
You mentioned that everything material has a spiritual equivalent in the spiritual world.
Yes.
So I want to know how they experience night without the moon. I understand the light comes from Krishna's effulgence.
Well, you have an assumption there. And it's a mistaken assumption. The mistaken assumption is there's no moon. And the fact is there's a full moon. There's no phases of the moon. Every night, it's a full moon. For Krishna's pastime purposes, every night is a full moon.
From Uttama Bhakta Prabhu, my understanding is that inanimate objects mentioned here are the ones only in Vrindavan responding to Lord Krishna.
Yes.
Can inanimate objects outside Vrindavan be alive but unresponsive?
You can try them out. Animate means alive. Animate means alive. So an inanimate object means not alive. So I think you've answered your own question.
Sri Radhika Mataji writes, will you please help me link this theme that you have been speaking from Lord Brahma's prayers and the theme of our recently concluded retreat, gratitude? Can you please elaborate on how Lord Brahma is moved by gratitude in this pastime?
Well, he's expressing it in every verse. You know, from the first verse, it's just expanded and expanded. He made not just a mistake. He made a mistake, but he made an offense, a major offense. He interfered with Krishna's pastimes. He took Krishna away by display of his little mystic power. He took Krishna away from his enjoying with the cowherd boys and calves. Nonetheless, Krishna didn't reprimand him. He could have. He could have done so many things. But instead, he showed him mercy. He showed him mercy by answering his curiosity question and by showing his original form and having him understand that his original form is the source of everything, as this verse is indicating, and the initial verse. So he's feeling very, very grateful in the midst of what could have been, a horrific consequence, because what he did was really bad.
Uttama Bhakta Prabhu writes, whose expansion is Sadashiva in the spiritual world?
Well, ultimately, everyone is all entities, all Vishnu Tattva forms are Krishna's expansion, and where Sadashiva is situated in the course of all of that complexity, I'd have to research and get back to you, because I can't remember. Okay. That's online. Anything else in the room? You have something.
Just in your response to Shri Radhika Mataji's second question about Lord Brahma and gratitude, and you were emphasizing that Krishna could have taken that in so many different directions. I never, it's more a comment, that I'd never seen that pastime in the particular light, that it really strikes home that Krishna is all about assisting us in our journey and uplifting, not just you did something bad, here's a punishment kind of thing. Like it's always, it seemed very tailored in particular to Lord Brahma, and that just sounds wonderful. If that's correct.
Yeah. Brahma is dear to Krishna. There are others in dearness hierarchy. There are more dear and more dear and more dear and more dear. Just like we heard this really far out expression about how dear is Arjuna, even more than his mother and father and brother, and his brother is Balaram, and that's wild. Balaram is his first expansion. But he has such affection for Arjuna. And you had some question about this, about Arjuna. I was thinking some more about your question. When in the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the indication, Prabhupada repeatedly says, although Krishna doesn't explicitly say it, you were also there when I spoke to the sun god Vivaswan. And was he a Pandava? Was he named Arjuna when Krishna spoke to the sun god Vivaswan so long ago? It doesn't indicate one way or the other, but at least not necessarily, because in Narayan it's Arjuna, but he's not named Arjuna, but it's Arjuna. And just, however, when Krishna speaks Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, we know this also. It's a very wonderful explanation given by Jiva Goswami about Krishna's Nitya Leela. The Nitya Leela explanation goes like this. Not only Krishna takes birth on earth, and that's an eternal pastime. What does that mean? It means that in another universe, Krishna's getting ready to take birth. And when Krishna takes birth in that next universe, Krishna's getting ready to take birth. And he's always taking birth, like the sun is always rising. So similarly, his exchange with Arjuna, it's going on in this universe, and it's getting ready to take place in the next universe, the next universe, the next universe, the next universe. Giriraj Maharaj asked this question. You probably heard me say this many times. On a morning walk in Juhu, you can look it up. I sent him that text to Giriraj Maharaj, that the actual conversation, where he said, since Krishna's always pastimes are always taking place in some universe, does this mean that there's multiple Arjunas? You follow? So Prabhupada's answer was yes. And that wasn't just why not, it was yes. So how can you have one soul having multiple souls? Because they're not created. Souls aren't created. So how does that work? That doesn't explain how it works. Other than for the purpose of serving Krishna, Vaishnavas, the intimate devotees of the Lord, can be expanded in multiple forms simultaneously for the service of Krishna. Now, the technology is not described, that not souls are created, but there's multiple Arjunas. And then as soon as that cycle goes around, then another day of Brahma and another day of Brahma. Of course, there's the night of Brahma after his day. Anyway, it's quite mysterious, but there's multiple Arjunas in relationship with Krishna, and that name and form Arjuna may not be the same as with Narayan, and presumably also with the sun god Vivaswan. Now, the son with his brothers and Mother Kunti and everything. But he's always with Krishna. How dear is he to Krishna? We just heard. So he's always with Krishna, and Krishna is always with him. Kind of like, not the same, but kind of like Lalita and Vishaka are always with Radha. You're not going to find Radha without them, or them without Radha. They're very attached. In a particular kind of mood of love, just like in Gaura Leela. They're there. Vishaka and Lalita and Arjuna, and they're all there. Not with the same form or with the same name, but in the same bhav. Different form, different name, same bhav, same mood of love.
Three questions came in.
Okay.
The first is from Girivardhari Prabhu. If someone doesn't express his gratitude when there is an opportunity, is not expressing it an offense?
No. You can do something or emote something without necessarily expressing that something.
Shaurya is asking, when Krishna comes in every day of Brahma, why doesn't Brahma recognize him?
Well, he does. He went to pay his respects. He didn't he wasn't like cruising around in a swan carrier and saw a little pastime and said, who was that? He knew who it was.
From Amara Mataji. My question is from the Mahabharata portion. Doesn't Lord Indra have all power to do things in such a way that they may not look deceptive?
It may not look what?
Deceptive.
I don't understand your question.
Why, she's talking about the pastime of taking Karna's natural armor was arranged in such a way that was disputed in the material point of view, that Indra disguised himself as a Brahmana.
So what? I don't get the question.
Her question is, doesn't Indra have sufficient power to get the armor in such a way that he didn't need to deceive?
Well, what he has the power to do and what he does is not necessarily a one-to-one correlation. It was before he came, it was known that what he would do. Surya said he's going to do this. He divined or saw the future, and sure enough. So Indra does all kinds of different things to suit the situation. So it doesn't mean he doesn't have power. It was known that it's like Krishna went to Jarasandha disguised as Brahmins. Krishna, Arjuna, and Bhima disguised as Brahmins. They could have just said, "Hey, let's fight," but they went as Brahmins. It's a pastime because he was known to give charity to Brahmins. So, Karna similarly. It was a vow. So, he used that method. I'm shrugging my shoulders. She can't see me shrugging my shoulders, but I'm shrugging my shoulders. No problem. Next. Shravan has something.
Gurumaharaj, Lord Brahma had a great fortune of getting the darshan of Lord Krishna. In both ways, one disclosing the source, he is the ultimate source of everything, and at the same time he was able to envision Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan as well.
It says nice, but I just like it's not nice. Go ahead.
So he had good fortune of experiencing the both aspects.
I got it. Yeah.
So as a sadhaka, what I have heard or listened, the holy name will reveal Nama Rupa Guna Leela. Within when Krishna reveals, is it more towards the pastimes or also includes how Lord Brahma got the vision of the source?
You're way over your head, man. I mean, chant nicely, and all these things will become clear to you. It's very abstract. I mean, some of these questions are also quite abstract. I'm just responding for many of the abstract questions. The what Krishna will reveal will become revealed when it becomes qualified. The simple principle is that by immersion, not just by practice, but by immersion in the sound of hearing the sound of Krishna's holy name, all things become revealed in sequence. Nama Rupa Guna Lila. So come to the place of Shuddha Nam, and everything will become revealed. Okay?
Thank you very much.
I just had a thought based on what you were saying, how, what happens to the Maha flowers in the spiritual world? Because like everything here, we're so used to everything being temporary, and so it's like.
And what happens when people eat? Do they have toilets? I heard some discussion about this, and it's not like, flowers here wilt and you discard them, but the flowers there don't. Now, what it's like when you offer a flower that doesn't wilt, what happens to the flower after it doesn't wilt? They have a big pile of unwilted flowers over there, and then more flowers and more flowers, and what do they do with the recycle the flowers that don't wilt? That's the question, right? No idea. I guess we just have to wait to get there and see what they do with the recycling the flowers. Big adventure, huh?
From Amrita Kelly Mataji. As you explained the possibility of multiple Arjunas, can we understand Arjuna and other associates of Krishna and their counterparts in Gaura Leela, that they exist simultaneously?
Yes.
Amara Mataji has a follow-up. Won't many people get attracted to Krishna if his pastimes are more conceivable to the general mass?
Well, you can predicate what Krishna does if you like, but I'm just fine with he does what he does, and that's fine, whatever he does. Does she want to rewrite the script? Krishna's pastime should be more intelligible for ordinary people, and then they could be more accessible to ordinary people because they're now unintelligible to ordinary people. He's having his pastimes, and by nature he's all attractive. So the hearts and the minds of those who are simple are attracted. Next. That's it. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.